Hey guys, welcome to the Vault. We're back with another exclusive video. Today we're talking about an exclusive release collaboration with a guy I know, Pierre, and a company that I'm very familiar with, Kevin and Team Collective Caps. But yeah, Pierre's going to take lead on this. Hope you guys enjoy.
Yeah. So, um, first of all, just so we can kind of introduce Kevin a little bit, right? So Kevin works for Team Collective Caps, right? And Kevin came to me with a unique opportunity to collaborate with his organization to create a cap. And some of the things that were really relevant at the time, and still continue to be, I think, one of the biggest problems in my country, in Jason's country. I know you guys are Canadian, but in our country is the unbalanced way we view our fellow human beings, specifically the way we treat people of color in our country. And I'm going to tell a quick story first, if that's okay. And it has to do with a movie that I watched with my kids probably 6 months ago, and it's called The Hate You Give. And in this movie, there's this one scene that I was watching with my kids where they're sitting at the dinner table, and the father, who's black, is teaching his black children how to stay safe if pulled over by a police officer. So teaching them the importance of, kind of handling themselves in a way that's not consistent with how a white person would have to handle themselves. And, talking through with my children, why that's necessary versus, what we would have to do if we were pulled over was a moment that sticks with me today more so than ever, considering the climate of where our country's at right now. And explaining to my children that these folks leaving their homes wanting to go get something at the store after dark is a different undertaking because of the color of their skin is a reality that we see on TV, or we kind of see vicariously through somebody else, but they actually live it. And for me, I'm not ashamed of being white, but I certainly am concerned, and I feel for anybody who has that sense of discomfort or fear just to do something very simple in their life. It's something that sticks with me, and explaining to my kids was a little uncomfortable, but it pales in comparison to the discomfort that another human being has to feel for that very simple task. And that's like a good story to kind of share where my head's at, right? But I also think the holiday Juneteenth. So you guys know what holiday that is, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So on June 19th, 1865, that's when the final emancipation of the slaves occurred in Texas. Now, this is a holiday that is inconsistently celebrated throughout our country. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of organizations now celebrate as a holiday only after George Floyd's death, which was almost like a climax in terms of breaking points. I think for everybody, not just people of color, but even, the right faction of allies. So, I think people like me, I've been disgusted for a long time, but that was also a breaking point for me. It's like enough is enough. I mean, how much more can this poor race of people take at the expense of people that just don't understand them? I don't know if this makes sense to everybody, but this whole journey I've been on in terms of trying to figure out where I fit in this equation has been a really tough one to figure out. But what I've realized is my best course of action to create change or some sort of assistance in creating change is just to do what I can from an ally perspective, be a friend, be someone that speaks up if I see something that doesn't fit, or if I see someone being mistreated, say something about it, especially when we're talking about anybody who's underrepresented. So if my voice or something I do can help positively impact something, that's what I'm going to do. So all of that kind of comes together in terms of why I wanted to go the route I did in this collaboration, right? And I think the Black Lives Matter movement is one that's consistent with what I'd like to see, which is instilling some change around these things. And, you know, it doesn't take just Black folks to do this. It takes Black people and allies that are not Black to help in this advancement. So that got me to studying a little bit more about Juneteenth and how the holiday should be celebrated. And, you know, what I like about it is it doesn't hide anything. The celebration doesn't hide anything. As a matter of fact, you know, things that are red, like red cupcakes, drinks that are red, anything like that is actually brought out on Juneteenth. And that's because it represents the blood of the slaves. And I think that sounds so stark and like, it was like, oh my God, it hit me like a ton of bricks when I first heard it. But I think, gosh, that's kind of like how I live my life transparently and just put it all out there for everybody to see. But I think rather than hiding from it, just putting it out there and making it a part of who we are and where we need to go is very important. Now, when talking to Kevin, he's like, hey, you know, I've got this opportunity. I said, all right, well, let's do a Captain America hat, but let's have some very key elements involved in this Captain America hat. I want it to be Black to represent Black people, the folks that have been oppressed in our country for far too long. Red to symbolize the blood of the slaves, and then silver to represent the chains that bound them. And then not only do I want to do that, but then I also want to take $5 of every cap and donate to the Black Lives Matter movement. And we did this, I don't know, how long ago was this, Kevin, where we actually put this together?
We were working on this probably as long as 4 to 5 months ago. It's probably fair to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And it finally came together, and I've got one in hand, and I'm going to show it to everybody. And this is actually, I'm not making any money off this hat. I want to be clear. I'm not making a penny off this hat. As a matter of fact, the 2 hats I'm supposed to get in my partnership with Kevin, I said, no, I want those to be converted into donation dollars. I don't want any money for this cap. So I'm going to show everybody the cap. And what's important isn't just the way it looks, but more what it represents. So basically it's jet black with the red undervisor, that metallic silver thread, and then red encompasses the rest of the shield. It's something iconic in the United States, right? Captain America, right, Jason? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
This is like the most American superhero you can find.
Yep.
And what better way to kind of instill or think about what change should look like in our country than take something iconic, black it out, and do something that honors the people that have been oppressed in this country for far too long. That's the route I went with Kevin. I really do hope people appreciate it. Again, I don't make a dime off this. I don't want a dime from this. Everything that I would normally be entitled to from this cap is going to the Black Lives Matter movement, including the 2 free caps I was supposed to get. So that's it. So I just wanted to kind of share that. I'd love to hear if you guys had any final thoughts before we wrap up, but we could also go through the details really quick. Maybe Kevin, you could take people through the details at the end, but I'd love to hear if you guys had anything you'd like to add before we kind of get into the details of the cap itself. How to acquire one.
Yeah, I have the hat in hand. I think the video doesn't do it any justice. The silver really pops off. The red is phenomenal. I don't know if mine doesn't, just like the metallic. It looks white on the camera, but it is metallic silver. I don't know. I make hats all the time. I try to make hats to donate to different causes, but when you really broke it down, man, I was almost embarrassed for myself because the thought and the research that you put behind it, I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of what you guys did and put together, and I can't wait for other people to get it in hand.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Leon. Well, Kevin, do you want to share a little bit of the details in terms of how to acquire the cap?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Well, for starters, we're super excited about this. We have been from the start, for sure. Any chance we get to help a cause, we want to jump on it as well. You step back for a second, you think, we're selling fitted caps for our cause. I mean, in certain ways, you know, we get some other employees and stuff around the building and they kind of raise an eyebrow, and then it starts to make sense. So we're just excited in that regard, because most days, we're just selling our normal stuff, and then when we get the chance to help out in any way, whether it's big or small, jump on it for sure. So we appreciate that aspect of it as well. And then after that, once we put these things together, like there's so many different ways we can go. When you and I, Pierre, sit down with it, and we can clutter the thing up, or we can go minimalist, whatever we want to do. And geez, we knocked it out 5 minutes. It seemed like 5-10 minutes, as far as, I kind of do my due diligence and say, do you want to consider this? Do you want to consider this logo, whatever it is? Nope. Had it down. I like how to the point it is, and it pops. These guys are talking about in person. I got one sitting at my desk at work right now, and it's dynamite for sure. So as far as grabbing it, it's at our, so we are web-based at Team Collective Caps. We can put out the link as far as, it'll be on Pierre's account, my account here, our account at Team Collective Caps. And our website is sourceteamworks.com. And then we have a Team Collective Caps from there. So, and then we'll run it on pre-order and make sure everybody gets a chance at their size. And we'll get them in. A pre-order probably run for about the better part of 10 or 12 days. I think that's when we talked about it earlier today. So yeah, overall, super excited about this one. And any chance we get to help in any way, it's pretty fun stuff for sure.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. And listen, anything that that we can do to instill any sort of change, be it big or small, I think if we all do our part, things get better. And listen, I appreciate, Kevin, I appreciate your partnership in allowing me to bring this to life. Jason, Leon, I really appreciate you guys and your support through the process. And I also want to thank some very specific friends out there. I'm gonna talk about, like, TJ, Sean. There's a bunch of different guys out there I really took partnership with, including my girlfriend who's Black, and we talked through all of these things to make sure that I was positioning these things in a way that was most sensitive and careful, because again, I'm white. And I think it's so important to make sure that every experience you have with someone different than you is a learning experience. So, I must have talked to my girlfriend ad nauseum about this and about how I felt about it, and was I in the right mindset as I'm kind of thinking through this? Was there anything I was missing? Is there something more I needed to learn? I presented to TJ a bunch of different options here in terms of how I was looking at things, just to make sure I wasn't missing something, because my perspective is that of a white guy, and I want a perspective that is of a white guy who understands his fellow human beings. And I think that's the difference. So I do want to thank anybody who helped me in that whole thought process, and especially in the communication process. With that, I think that's a pretty robust kind of description of why we did it and what it is. So Leon, if you don't mind, take us away.
Yeah. Make sure you guys like, rate, review, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back with some more exclusive content later in the week. Until then, stay fitted. We'll catch you guys soon.
All right, thanks everybody.